So it's my pleasure and honor to open the third conference of the European Academy of Religion and to welcome all of you in Bologna for 4 days of, I hope, intense and fruitful discussion. As you know, the overarching theme of this conference is empowering the individual and nurturing the community. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself alone, what am I? If not now, when? This is a very famous quotation from Hillel the Elder, who lived in exile in Babylon before the Christian era. And I think that this quotation encapsulates the ideal of one spiritual and one physical development within community. And however, it is always an issue to reach an equilibrium between the two. In Western Europe, at least until the Westphalian Order and the end of war of religion, religious communities were the cornerstone of social, economic, and cultural life. It also meant that people were defined by prescribed status: men, women, peasant, noble, clergy, and as such could not escape this prescribed status. Other several elements constitute modernization, but the key factor that concerns us for this conference at least is that modernization was and is still the progressive gain of equal rights for men, women, independently of race and religion. And this progression of human rights is the cornerstone of societies, modern societies, what Tönnies called the shift from Gemeinschaft to Gesellschaft. In other words, persons became individuals, and this is not the same. Individual is the person considered as the main receptacle of rights, independently of gender, race, or religion. The advancement of rights was long, painful, and it's not over. It's not achieved yet. If we take for evidence the multiple claims, including in our so-called advanced democracy, for a better implementation of the rights that were initially given to women or religious minority, or new rights given to sexual minorities. And in other parts of the world, the fight is also intense to expand the rights independently or beyond these criteria of gender, race, and religion. Today we are witnessing increasing fragilities of communities in general, from national to political to cultural. The question in the mind of a lot of people is the individual becoming selfish and endangering the community? The financial crisis of 2007-2008 was a blatant example of such selfishness, while people were losing their jobs, houses, and savings, the head of hedge funds and CEO continued to pocket huge benefits. It seems that our oldest democracy in Europe and in the US are weakened also by the multiplication of demand that are more and more difficult to satisfy. It is not only demands on advancement of material condition, it is also protection of way of life, security, and even sometimes happiness that are put forward in terms of interest and groups. In fact, interest groups and lobbies are eroding the common good. They have also deeply affected the democratic mechanism by competing exclusively for their interest with no consideration for the political community at large. In this context, religion can be either an asset or a threat. The tragic fate of Mahatma Gandhi in some ways illustrates this duality of religion. His religious belonging was key to his policy and practice of nonviolence and to the establishment of India as an independent state. At the same time, he was gunned down by an Hindu nationalist linked to an extremist group. So this duality of religion is very difficult to capture for scholars who are not specialized in religious studies, but have to deal with religion, either in social sciences or other domains, and even more for politicians. In the common debate, we tend to see only the negative effect of religion. For example, in Europe, the fear is growing about the erosion of individual rights by claims from religious communities, especially on women's status. At the same time, politicization and radicalization of religious claim from ISIS to the Buddhists in Myanmar and Sri Lanka strengthen this idea that religion can also go with coercion and negation of the self and the individual. At the same time, young people from north to south and east to west are attracted to religious communities. The data are there. We are witnessing an increase of interest among young people for religious communities, but not automatically for religious institutions. And the difference is significant here. Additionally, we do not pay enough attention to the contribution of religious groups and actors to peace building, to assistance in major social issues that have global impact, like the refugee crisis. For example, in some countries, like in the US, the help given to refugees, even if the number is small, is primarily coming from religious congregations. Not to mention the positive effect of religion on the self. Here, again, data are very striking. People who declare that they are religious tend to be happier, more serene, and even sleep better than people who have no religious identification. So the whole challenge is, how do we maintain an equilibrium between self and community? Because this equilibrium is never stable forever, and it's always evolving. So it's very difficult to get a meta theory about the self and the community. And I will conclude on that with hoping that some responses will come from the different panels and speakers gathered here for these 4 days. And before I close here, I want to thank our major sponsors. So a big thank you to the Italian National Commission of UNESCO, the University and the City of Bologna, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Foundation Cariplo, and Casa Ocarisbo. Sorry. Thank you. My role now will be to introduce the panelists. I hope I won't have to monitor the time, so I will go by the alphabetical order, or rather the order of appearance, sorry, on this list. Armando Baruco, Policy Planner, Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Please, the floor is yours.